genre.
Hello and welcome back to the Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Nick Jimenez.
I'm Dr. Ellie.
And I'm Cass Fredrickson.
And today on the show, we're sticking it to the man by discussing the Fearmonger, and the Seven Doctors 13th story, and his first from Big Finish Audio.
Oh my god.
Yes, indeed. Released in February of 2000. This is the first Seventh Doctor story to be released by Big Finish Audio to feature Ace as well. This is basically a continuation of like right where we left off with them at the end of Survival. And they're just kind of continuing that storyline. This is written by Jonathan Bloom, directed by Gary Russell, as was the style at the time. I think he directed like almost every episode this early on in Big Finish Audio.
Wow.
The Fearmonger, this is, I think that it's fun how this one kind of plays with the format a little bit, which Nick alluded to with like all the references to like a radio personality. I think it's interesting that the setting of this is post 9/11, but it comes out before 9/11, so they didn't even know how right they were going to be about all of this. It's kind of nuts. This is like clearly, obviously I'm sure there's like some British equivalents, but this is like kind of leaning on the sort of Rush Limbaugh era of like the 90s, of like a extreme right-wing asshole who has a radio talk show with call-in people, and whenever criticized would throw out the defense of like, I'm just doing this for entertainment. If you believe anything that I say, you're the idiot, you fucking moron. I'm just here to make money and entertain assholes. And I'm all out of neither of those things. So I'm just going to keep going. It's that's sort of like where this is about. And I think like, I guess just to give like a sort of like broad plot of what this is, it's like there's this alien that is referred to as the Fearmonger, and then there's this politician who at the beginning of this is almost assassinated. Her name is Sherilyn Harper. She's the lead of the sort of
New Britannia.
New Britannia, like right-wing political party. This extreme right-wing political party that is like they're white supremacists and clearly fascists. And she's being assassinated, and it's the whole story is working under the assumption that the Fearmonger, this alien race that feeds on fear, everyone assumes that the woman is possessed by this thing and is doing what she's doing to feed on the fear that she's creating as the result of being this sort of like right-wing political figure, this very outspoken white supremacist and everything, a bigot, if you will. The big, twist is that it isn't actually her that is possessed. It is the people that are afraid of her, that they are the ones that are actually possessed, that the Fearmonger is creating the fear of this person, and that is the thing that it's feeding on. And yeah, so it's a little Uno reverse card of a twist. But like overall, like I don't know about you guys, but I really like this one. It feels very much like a modern interpretation of just like a proper McCoy era story. It's got like interesting characters, and it's playing in like a political minefield, rather than a literal minefield, I suppose, which I think has often happened in Doctor Who. But I don't know. I really like everything that this story is doing and what it's saying and what it's talking about. Like the idea of like, well, these guys, they don't have any power if you're not afraid of them, because then they don't like, I don't know. Like there's just like a lot of stuff there that I thought was like interesting. But could only be done pre 9/11. I think a story like this, because post 9/11, I think we're sort of too far in the weeds with these personality types, and I don't know that you'd be able to both sides this argument in the way that this story attempts to do. Attempts to do. So Nick, what were your thoughts on the Fearmonger?
I was very fascinated by it and definitely engaged by it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just I'm on my phone right now just because I wanted to look up so Tony Blair was in office from 1997 to 2007. So this came out during the Tony Blair era of UK politics, for whatever that's worth, listeners. And I'm sure our UK listeners are more well versed in that than us three Americans. So I was fascinated by it just enough to also be frustrated by it. Because it's so unlike a lot of any other kind of Doctor Who plot that I've listened to. It's like kind of a political thriller. There's a minimal alien weirdness. So that when it sort of, particularly towards the end, it starts to do something very provocative and radical. And then kind of pulls the rug out from under that and becomes just sort of another like Daddy Doctor's always right story. Which I'm normally not even frustrated by. I'm normally kind of just accept that wholesale of like, yeah, I like Daddy Doctor always being right. But it starts to be like, oh, but what if he's not though? And it's like, just kidding, he is. Of course he is. And I was like, oh man, I was kind of into what they were cooking up. I'm genuinely can't wait to talk about it with the three of you and kind of like what we thought of, like we said, kind of the both sidesism, which I know is often very frustrating in storytelling, but also like, yeah, like would the story have been the same way in a post like War on Terror environment? Yeah. Cass, what did you think?
I think that I have like I did not enjoy listening to this. I think that the fact that it was uncomfortably close to what is currently happening, like our current political climate, was upsetting in a way, because I was like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh boy, okay.
This is like this is literally like about like low key, like the thing that started where we are now,
Yeah.
Like Rush Limbaugh, like you could draw a straight line from like Rush Limbaugh and other people of his ilk
to
where we are politically
Tucker
now.
Carlson, the kind of hey, I'm just an entertainer, but when it's convenient, I'm going to have the facade of a newsman to trick your grandparents into taking everything I say seriously,
so that they watch commercials and I can get rich.
And I think that the right wing woman is supposed to be kind of like a riff on Margaret Thatcher still. But like the stuff that she says during her rally, which I know is supposed to be like intentionally provocative and supposed to be like, I don't know, like maybe it's supposed to be like outlandishly racist. Like she literally says God-fearing white people like during one of her speeches. And then but like that's just where we are right now. So I'm just like, oh no. Like and I think because of that, the the both sides thing did not play well for me at all, where I was
Sure.
like, what? That's really? And I think it's interesting that we're talking about this story in the same round that we're talking about Kill the Moon, which I think is like a similar like like maybe the writer didn't intend it that way, like, you know, like violence is not the answer, like, which, you know, like is 99.9% correct in most Doctor Who stories, but then like, you know,
yeah, no, in a post Luigi Mangione society,
yes,
like the end of this argument is just like weird. Like it feels weird, but it's also like I get it, and I think the reason that I can like be on the story side is because well, they didn't know how bad it was going to get when they made this, you know, and their heart's in the right place with the argument that they're trying to make, which is that like you're no better than them if you want to kill them for their beliefs. Instead, we just need to like de-escalate their power and et cetera, and it's
sure, like
that's
bombs aren't the answer, violence isn't the answer.
Yeah,
you're
that's
just
all well
them.
and good as long as like we can actually do that. But in a world where you can't actually do that,
right?
The it becomes more complicated.
I think in a vacuum, this story is like, you know, it's like, yeah, the Doctor is not going to condone violence, obviously.
Yeah.
But because I think they're playing on like modern day politics and like the rise of fascism, I think it's muddied in a way that's similar to like Kill the Moon's fine in a vacuum, but then like when you think about it for 5 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't what the writer intended, but like this is what we're taking away from it. So I think that that made this a little more unpleasant than I think the writer was intending it to be for me to listen to.
Yeah. I do think that like, you know, it's complicated, certainly, because like there are a lot of evil people doing really evil shit and they have a lot of power right now.
Yes.
But they're also a symptom of larger societal issues that actually have nothing to do with them, that they're just taking advantage of, you know, that are the real thing that we should be trying to solve. And so like to a certain extent, it's like, I get that they're a symptom of a larger problem. They are not the problem. They just feel like the problem because they're so loud and in our face all the fucking time. Like if I could go one day without seeing Elon Musk's face, I realize I think it's been like 3 years since I've had a day where I have not seen his face somewhere on something. And I'm just like, what the fuck world do we live in that I have to see this fucker's face every day of my life? Why? You know? And yeah, it's so I don't know. It's just interesting. I guess.
Yeah, no, and that's interesting because like it's easier to hate a person than a force or a societal rot or something. And it's
right.
It's kind of like, well, do I actually? I do hate that guy because fuck that guy. But like, would you know, hypothetically killing that guy with the fucking cattle gun from No Country for Old Men, like,
hypothetically,
Mangione
in
style.
fiction,
in the realm of fiction, like, what would that accomplish, or you know, blah 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 blah, which is kind of like what
nothing, because he would just be replaced by the system that is in place protecting him, you know? And that's the thing. We were talking about this, like this came up in the politics channel on Discord, which yes, we do have a politics channel on our Discord, and it's the nicest politics channel I've ever been a part of in any place on the planet. So it's a safe place if you ever want to talk about very left leaning politics. If you're right leaning, I don't think you're listening to this at this point.
No.
But you know, we were just talking about this, and you know, somebody made a comment about like how evil CEOs are, and it was so funny. They made the comment right after I was listening to the story, and I was like, well, the CEOs are not actually the problem. The problem is the system in which the CEOs exist. CEOs are just doing what they're designed to do. If they didn't do what they're doing, which is improve profits come hell or high water, they would
Right.
just be replaced by another CEO that would do that.
We literally saw.
Yeah.
As we literally saw a couple months ago. Yeah.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
real problem is Wall Street. Like the real problem is the stock market. Like that's we need to abolish the stock market because that's the actual underlying problem. If we abolish the stock market and every company was a private company, we wouldn't have to worry about like being so profitable that we can give all of this money to people who did nothing to earn it, you know?
Right.
Like the problem is the stock market, but like, you know, that's not a fun thing to like meme about abolishing the stock market. That's not, you can't make a meme out of like a shitty CEO. You know, or you can't make a meme out of this the way that you can a shitty CEO, that you can just blame all of the problems on this one guy. That's so much easier to do than to be like, well, the problem is this societal issue with the whole like stock exchange and Wall Street and publicly traded companies. And like, that just becomes this whole complicated mess with nuance and all these things. And I think that's largely what this story is trying to say, which is not incorrect. It's just not a fun listen when we're in the world that we're in right now.
Yeah. And because it is like a fantasy, you know, like there were a few times where I was listening to this and I was just like, what timeline are we in that I am living in a Doctor Who story without the Doctor present? Like, you know what you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Of like, you know, you kind of want him to. It also kind of, I wasn't thinking about this story while listening to it, but like listening to us talk, it also reminds me a lot of our problems with Kerblam during the Jodie Whittaker era, where it crafts a fantastical science fiction story where somehow the end result is actually the Doctor has to save Amazon.
Yes.
And, because bombs are bad and terrorism is bad. And you're like, yeah, like in a vacuum, and Doctor Who being a children's family show, I get the not wisdom behind that, but the logic behind that. But it just sucks to watch a Doctor Who story that ends with the Doctor ultimately servicing the machine and not the destruction of the wheel.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it's because Doctor Who is a show that doesn't really delve into larger systematic issues. It's very much about individuals. This is a bad individual. This is a good individual. We can't kill the bad individual because if we do, we become the bad individual.
Right.
And that is it. You know, like there's not the nuance is just within the morality of those things. And it doesn't really expand beyond that because at the end of the day, this is a show that children need to be able to watch, you know? And understand what's going on, which is, you know, I think discussing the nuances of stock trading, I think would be, you know, difficult for children to understand.
I think you just kind of arrived at like my problem with most of these Big Finish things, because I think that I wish that Big Finish would like dig into the nuance a little more, because they have the space and the opportunity to do so. Yeah. You know?
Because children are not listening to these Big Finish audios.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And like, I don't know. I keep thinking about Scarso. The Rob Shearman, the weird mindfuck episode.
Yeah.
And like he gets it. He got it. But I feel like because maybe like the nostalgia of like the classic Who template that these are like based on, like maybe that doesn't allow for it, but I kind of like wish that they played with it a little more and we got more like nuance instead of like good thing good and bad thing bad.
I think we definitely get there as they go along.
That's good.
It's just that this is literally the 5th ever Big Finish release.
Right. Yeah.
And
I know
so
it's still early days.
It's still very early. And the fact that they're doing what they're doing in this is honestly impressive. 5
That's
stories
fair.
in.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially the 7th Doctor stuff, as we will see as we go along. They deal with some really heavy stuff as we go along. as does the Eighth Doctor. We're about to go into the Lucy Miller era, and as fun as that era is, there's a lot of room in there for some not so fun stuff that is like really interesting. So yeah, it evolves over time. It's just that like we're on early days in the timeline of everything right now. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, the Fearmonger.
So is there a time gap between the last time we see them on screen in Werewolf Town or whatever that last episode was?
Cheetahville, yeah.
Cheetahville. They were cheetahs, yeah. Like is Ace supposed to be an adult now, or is she still like a precocious teen?
So that is, I think they purposefully leave that a little nebulous. I don't remember if they ever actually say when that is, when this is, but like in her personal timeline, I'm not positive. But I think it's largely just like the fact that, quote unquote, what is it, 12 years or something like that, 15 years have passed, is just because this takes place in 2002.
Oh, okay.
But I don't, and she's like in her like hometown or whatever, or in 2002, and it's the first time they've seen her since she left in 88 or 87 or whatever it was. And so that's what they're commenting on, is just that it's been that long
for them.
But I don't know that like she didn't just go from survival like straight into this. I'm not positive, and I don't know that they ever firmly say one way or the other. That I'm not positive about. So, I think it's just kind of meant to be like them being like, yeah, it's been a little while. I don't know, Yeah.
Because it's not that Sophie Aldred sounds significantly older. It's just, I know that this came out in 2000, and so I'm like wondering, like, oh, is this like adult Ace now, or is this still like cool teenager pyromaniac Ace?
Right. Based on the cover of it, I would say that it's supposed to be pretty closely following Survival in her personal timeline, just because it is still that Ace on the cover. But I don't know if we're supposed to take that literally or not. I'm not positive. So, so yeah, there's we got this New Britannia political party. We have an attempted assassination. We have a radio show host by the name of Mick Thompson. I thought it was really funny, that scene in the first part where he's just trying to like do his show, and he just keeps getting distracted by the doctor just standing there.
Hello. Why are you in here? Oh, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Keep doing your show. Keep doing your stupid little show, you little twit.
It reminds me of like in the sixth one where she's trying to give her lecture, and just Colin Baker's just like there. He's just like just sitting there.
Yeah. It's good. So then he's eventually like, look, if you have something to say, just go ahead and say it. And he's like, okay, I will. And then he gets on and he's like, the monster is real. The monster is real. He's like, okay, we're going to a break.
I speak now directly to the assassin from last March. The monster is real. You weren't imagining it. Like, oh, okay, buddy.
Yeah. So there you go. And we have, it's the part outs on this particular story are not the best, to be perfectly honest.
I have a question. What did each of you think of the performance? Not like the script and the character, but the actor playing Mick Thompson, like his performance.
I thought he was great. I thought he was doing a really great job, personally.
I think he was good at being annoying.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He sounds just like those guys, I think, in England, the British equivalent. Yeah.
I think that was kind of the what am I trying to think of? Like the good, it felt good in my ears. We're trying to come up with an intelligent way to say that, because he wasn't overplaying the obnoxiousness. He felt like, I could imagine this guy on the radio in the 2000s, because what he was saying was really obnoxious and annoying, but he was underselling it in a believable way, that where he just kind of sounded like a guy, and the result of the equation was like, oh, this is an annoying guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that. Let's see. Ace is working with her old friend from her hometown, Paul Tanner, who's like a hacker. So I just love that we have a hacker and an explosives expert. That's
the most 90s shit.
This is crazy. And she's been missing for 15 years is what she said. What he says. But he's happy to see her, but isn't so thrilled at like her like dragging him into like whatever political minefield she's dragging him into. But with his help, she locates the assassin, and then also finds the other assassin, because there's like two assassins. One is like on the run and the other one is in the hospital. And she finds them both, and they're like, hey, it's this monster that we're calling the Fearmonger. It's incorporeal, it's a parasite, it feeds on fear and related emotions. Clearly it must be living inside Sherilyn Harper, and that's why she is the way that she is. Not that she's just an evil bigot, but she has like an alien parasite, which is also funny because we are constantly talking about these monsters having brainworms and stuff like that. So there's yet another thing that this story is sort of like referencing, which is insane.
On a critical note, like free of any kind of political subtext or whatnot, just on a purely just technical level, more than half of our supporting characters are just boring sounding British white guys.
Yes.
And so I was kind of like, wait, which one's Paul? Is Paul the assassin? Which one's Mick? Mick's the DJ. Okay. I was kind of, I was having to kind of like do that in my brain a lot.
100% agree. This is a big problem with early Big Finish, is that they do not cast their stuff particularly well. With that in mind, with the non-visual in mind. And it's a perpetual problem for a while in early Big Finish.
I liked the woman who is the Harper, the politician. And I like that she just sounded like somebody's grandma, kind of, which made her more like scary. And I also liked her campaign manager, like the smarmy
Roderick,
guy. I don't even remember his name, but he had a good voice.
Definitely.
I also found Sherilyn Harper really, because like we meet her, and I like how the first time we see her not being in front of a podium, she's just like a tired middle-aged politician that's like, oh, vacation, I remember those, and like she does sound like someone's grandma or someone's aunt, so that when she's like, we're going to drive the brownies out of UK, we're going to make Britain safe for us again, I was like jostled, because she's not obnoxious and toxic when she's just a person when she's with her campaign manager, so you can kind of like forget that she's a bigot, which is kind of like what's scary. The episode doesn't give us these like she's also a bitch to her. She's she's like being mean to everyone, and she's like this big over the top monster. No, she's like a person, but a person can do really evil things.
Yeah, which is why the sort of both sidesing of like where how the parasite actually works doesn't bother me so much, because in a way it's like not giving her an out. By being like, the parasite was never in her. She's just a fucking monster.
She's just a terrible person.
She's just a terrible person. And I kind of I really respect the story for being like, no. The problem was not like she is a problem, but she is not. Like, we're not letting her off the hook by being like, oh, but she had a parasite in her.
Right,
Other than that, she's fine. If it wasn't for the parasite, she's actually innocent. And it's like, no, she's not innocent. And in fact, it's the assassinators who are innocent. The attempted assassins are the innocent ones, because as he says, like, you know, she has a parasite in her brain, and I know it because I can hear it in her voice. But what it really is a parasite in his head, making him hear that voice when she talks. So it's more like a They Live situation with the glasses, where you know, he's wearing the glasses and sees all of the alien faces, and he starts blowing them away. The parasite is basically making you see the alien faces, essentially.
Yeah.
And so the fact that she's a monster is just the sort of the fearmonger alien is like literalizing what he is actually afraid of when he sees her, which is that she's a bigot, and it's scary that she has this much power. And the parasite is like, "Oh, you should kill her," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I should."
which is like a pretty provocative, and I that's a morsel of an idea that the just because it's the thing is like it's the thing telling you to be afraid that can be the problem. I'm still thinking about, there's this comedian I really love named Patty Harrison. You probably know her from like I Think You Should Leave and other stuff like that. And she posted this like multi-part Instagram story a couple weeks ago where she was like, "Hey, like I'm a trans American. I'm really scared right now, but I'm just kind of breaking it down because I'm also seeing my feed is now stories and articles and memes telling me things I agree with, but I have to remember that even that is part of the system of fear, because that is designed to tell me that everything's going to shit and we've already lost, and you know, the country that I love is gone. And that is sometimes even more dangerous than the, like, you know, the fucking people that I know are bad yelling at me, because it can sometimes, it's like, you know, fumes that don't have a scent to them, you know?
Yeah.
The silent killer. And she's like, everything on my phone is designed by an algorithm to tell me what I want to know. And so even if I agree with it, I still have to be wary of it. And so the idea that even the voice telling you that the scary lady is scary, that can also be weaponized against you. And you have to even be cautious of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's see. Harper finds out about the doctor and that he used to work with Unit. And the PR consultant for her, I guess, plans to like bring the doctor in because he thinks that he's a terrorist. Meanwhile, the assassin who's on the run, Walter, attempts to kill Harper again, this time with a bomb. But the doctor and Ace intervene, and then that's how part 1 ends. And part 2 is like basically like sort of like a little bit more like world building, and it's them like talking to Paul, and it's this whole thing where like they're trying to like, I guess, like explain to him that like, I don't know, like I don't know. They're like, this one kind of like, I'll be honest, like part 2, I was kind of like fading in and out of paying attention on part 2. You know, it isn't until like Ace gets shot at the end that I'm like, oh, what? But part 2 was a little bit of like wheel spinning and like kind of like samey stuff. There's a force field generator that they're hoping to use to like pull the parasite out of the host. And so they're going to go to like the headquarters of New Britannia to confront her, to sort of like use the force field generator to pull it out of her, because they're like, oh, she's innocent. It's fine. She just has this. We got to take the parasite out. Everything will be fine. You don't need to kill anybody, you fucking weirdo. And then they're basically like, oh, wait, no, she doesn't have anything in her. Yeah. But
and then they go to meet, because Paul is being, it almost, I was thinking this while I was listening, it almost has like after school special vibes. In a way I didn't necessarily hate, but it's like, oh no, the bad terrorist people are trying to peer pressure Paul into doing a terrorism. And the doctor and Ace have to be the angels on his shoulder to be like, don't do a terrorism, Paul. Don't go to the bad. And it was like when Carlton started hanging out with fucking like gangbangers and Fresh Prince, you know, where it just
Right.
was weirdly coddling of this adult man.
Yeah.
And then Ace gets fucking shot, and now in
By
retrospect, I'm like,
the leader of the terrorist group. Yeah.
Do you really want to shoot me? I've been shot.
Yeah. And then we find out it was in the shoulder, so that's how they pay that off. Like, oh, she's fine. Just got shot. Just a flesh wound. It's fine.
If she's 17, don't think about it. We don't know.
Yeah. And then like 3 weeks pass while her shoulder gets better. But yeah, the Fearmonger is like hanging out like in Paul's apartment. And is like
just smoking weed, watching Spaced, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and then they're gonna confront Harper again during a live broadcast of the radio show, but it doesn't go well. And it gets revealed that Ace and Walter are at the hospital. And then like this really weird moment happens where like the monster jumps hosts, and now Ace is hearing the Fearmonger in the doctor's voice, and so she thinks that the doctor is possessed by the Fearmonger.
Yeah, was that the cliffhanger to part 3?
Yes.
Because that made me audibly go like, what the fuck? Like, because I didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah, it was really subtle and weird. Yeah,
I missed the vocal module. Like, I heard it when they did the little recap thing at the beginning, like the beginning of the next one, but I was like, this is a weird place to end this.
Yeah, very weird. It's not dramatic at all. It's just kind of like thrown away. Like he might as well have been like reading his grocery list when you hear the voice. Because it's literally like she's literally like, wait, what was that? What did you say? And he's like, you mean this? And he just sounds like the doctor again. And she's like, oh yeah, no, never mind. Ooh, like that's like, wait, what?
Which was the part of the episode that I was kind of the most like, oh, wait a second, this is kind of cool, because things escalate to the point where, you don't know who to trust. It turns out the terrorists were being bankrolled by Roderick, the campaign manager. So they were always under the employ of New Britannia to make her seem more sympathetic. And it was like, yeah, you thought there were these like radical terrorists, but they were actually just like fucking patsies for the government. And so when Ace thinks that the parasite might be in the doctor and she can't trust the doctor, I was like, that's kind of punk. I like that, of like, don't even trust the doctor. Cause like, and I was like, oh, what if he was the Fearmonger the whole time? So when it just became like wise Daddy 7 being like, oh, you dummy kid, don't you see? Everything's blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Professor, I should always believe you. It's like, that's right, you should. And I just kind of resented him in this one in a way I never have before with the doctor, of like, don't tell me not to be afraid, man. Like, yeah, it was interesting.
I will say that is a theme that is continued to they continue to sort of like noodle with in the 7th Doctor Big Finish stuff, is like his trustworthiness.
That's cool.
As he sort of becomes this, chess playing master manipulator over the course of his run in Big Finish. And so like it's kind of important that they do it this way, because it's almost like a thematic hint at like what's going to come down the line. Which your feelings are justified, and also I think on purpose. I think Big Finish wants you to be feeling the way that you're feeling a little bit.
I kind of appreciated that because there's like I think Ace is talking to Walter about how the doctor is constantly like pushing her to face her fears, like when she's like sinking deeper into her paranoia. That like, because like that's all that last season of the TV show was like the Ghostlight and like Curse of Fenric and stuff. So like I kind of like that they're playing with that, but I'm interested to see like if they like take it too far, I don't know. It wasn't too far from me in this, but I'm just kind of like curious about where they do end up.
Yeah, that reminds me of like the thing that I think all three of us had mixed feelings about in Joy to the World, where 15 says like there's no bad way to save someone's life.
Oh yeah, where he's like verbally abusing her.
Yeah.
It's like, see, it was actually good that I was doing that, because
Yeah.
now you're not being possessed by a parasite.
Uh-huh.
And Nicola Coughlan just to be like, oh, okay, thank you. And he's like, you're welcome.
See you later. Yeah. So then, so Ace realizes that she's actually has the parasite, and then she like turns the thing on herself and gets the fearmonger out of her brain, and then that's that. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
that's the story. Yeah, I don't know. I like this one for what it is, even if like it's a little too close to home right now.
Yeah.
There's
no, that's fair.
I think it's like part 1 or part 2 maybe, but early on where Ace is feeling very dejected, and the doctor's like, "What, what's wrong, Ace?" And she's like, "I don't know. Like I was a teenager in the 80s, and it was like, Packies Get Out, and like now I'm in the future of 2002, and we're dealing with this asshole, and like do things ever change? Do things ever get better?" And the Seventh Doctor is like, "Of course it does. It just happens very slowly. And sometimes you don't notice it, but change always." And it reminds me a lot of like what I've heard people like Barack Obama say in America, or like Joe Biden, which is like, don't tell me things haven't changed. Like things have changed, and like it's like, it takes a million butterflies, and yeah, sometimes those butterflies get fucking crushed and killed, but eventually we do move the wheel forward. And just how often I've felt like Ace of like, yeah, but that doesn't feel like it's helping me right now,
Yeah.
like how endless the cycle can feel.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it always it's a series of feelings of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so it almost feels like you're treading water, but you're not realizing that you are going 1 step forward every time that happens,
Right.
It's just it's yeah, really long really long process. But it kind of reminds me of like how in like how you'll hear these stories about like movies that get made where they will purposefully put something in that they know the MPAA will be like, nope, can't have that in there if you want it to be rated R. And the reason that they do that is because, well, if we cut something out for them, then they'll ignore this other thing that we really want in. But if we only had that in, they'd be like, that's NC-17. And they would have to cut that, and they don't want to cut that. So they put something in they don't want in. To distract
they know will
them.
Get cut.
Yeah, right. And that's what it reminds. That's like how like politics like kind of like work over time. Like societal politics is like you go a little like you rush forward 2 steps so that you can be pushed back 1 step, so that every time you're pushing forward a little bit more. And it's like a strategy, and it sucks that it has to happen that way, but we have a lot of really stupid people in the world, so what are you gonna do?
Right. Yeah. And like, what's the alternative? Like,
Right.
Is the only other option violence and violent revolution and uprising? And like, how do we feel about that? Like,
Right. Well, and even then, like, what does that?
What does that do?
What does that actually accomplish, other than create a different kind of fascism?
Right.
Yeah. So
It's just V for Vendetta fascism.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's just tricky, it's all very tricky, but yeah. Oh well.
I would be very interested. I mean, like, it seems unlikely with the Disney of it all, but it's something I would be interested. I would be very much interested to see RTD2 tackle before his era is over.
Yeah. If anyone would do it, I could see him doing it. I like how hard Moffat's going on capitalism in this era. I'll say that. That's been fun to see.
Yes.
So
it's called Rexon.
Right. Yeah. Wait, No, that's the isn't
That's
that the
Loki.
soccer? Isn't that the soccer club? The football club that
Oh, Wrexham. That's Wrexham. What's
Wrexham. Yeah.
What's it called? Cass and Jordy of the World, the company that owns everything, including the church.
Villain
and God?
Guard.
Villain Guard. There you go.
Yeah. So
Inventor of Jesus.
So yeah, to all the more right-leaning people who might have listened to this episode, thanks for the 1-star review. I won't be reading it. But I hope it made you feel better about your life and stance in politics.
You only get one.
Why the fuck are you listening to
Engagements?
Why are you? Yeah.
Right,
Why are
yeah.
you listening to our show? And A and B. Why are you watching Doctor Who at all?
Why are you watching Doctor Who?
Get a life, loser.
Is there a far right Doctor Who podcast? And if so, let us know about it.
They just
What's
hate
their-
it. They just hate watch every episode. Like, is
the
the only thing I
hell?
can imagine. They're like the only good episode is Vengeance on Varos, and it's just because they completely even ignored what the actual message of that story was.
God.
But they were like, I like that there's violence in this one.
We like Kill the Moon. They saved that dragon egg.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Well, what a crazy place to take a pause on our long way around schedule. But yeah, we're taking a pause because supposedly anyway, next week the first episode of series 2 starts up. So we're going to be switching gears and going back to that. And then we'll be back in, I believe, June. To talk about The Girl Who Never Was, the final 8th Doctor Charlie story.
Wow.
Yeah.
She finally gets to rest.
Wrapping. Well, you'll see.
Oh no!
But more on that.
And then
I
Lucy
guess
Miller.
in June. Yes, and then on the other side of that, we will get our first Lucy Miller story, and I am so fucking excited to enter the Lucy Miller era of 8th Doctor. I've been hyping it for a while, and I hope that it lives up to the hype for you guys. But
I know I'm kind of nervous. It's like, oh no, what if I don't like Lucy?
oh, God, I love Lucy Bleeding Miller.
That's the
Anyway.
paranoid thriller version of I Love Lucy. What if I don't like Lucy? Oh no, what if I don't like Lucy? She's my wife.
Oh man. And then the depression anxiety version is, what if Lucy doesn't like me?
What if Lucy don't like me? What if I got some splaining to do?
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back with whatever the first episode of Series 2 is called. We don't know what the name of it is at this point, as of recording this. But,
Space Babies 2.
Space Babies 2. Fingers crossed.
My God.
Space Toddlers?
Space Toddlers.
All right. We'll talk to you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.